Okay, hello everyone. My name is Gina. Thank you for having me here, and welcome to my presentation about reaching millennials and initiating mass behavior change for animal welfare through the digital generation. So, really quick about me. Like I said, my name is Gina Juarez. I got my bachelor's in communications from Michigan State University, and I am a project manager for Ford Motor Company at an ad agency in Metro Detroit, which, full disclaimer, absolutely no background in animal welfare, but that's not to say that I'm not extremely passionate about animals. Speaking of which, I have a really cool dog, which hopefully I can tell you about later because I love him and I miss him. Okay, so to jump right in, you've heard the term millennials bounce around throughout the last few years, but what does it actually mean? Millennials, by definition, refers to a group of people born between the year 1980 and 2000. And so because of that, we basically grew up with digital media at our fingertips. We were the first ones to use MySpace, Facebook, things like that. And so because of that, we've become natural digital marketers of ourselves. We've kind of grown up with the idea of presenting ourselves via screens, and we actually have grown up interacting with the world through screens. And so because of that, we are a very targeted demographic for brands and companies across the globe. They know that millennials are very influential. So like I said, because of that, we're a very targeted demographic. So a recent study from the Business Insider kind of wanted to find out which social media platforms people use the most, and the overwhelming result was that people use YouTube the most. They interact with videos the most, actually, which you can see throughout all of the results. Videos are an integral part of digital media. Facebook recently implemented a live video feature. Instagram saw the value in videos and integrated that into their platform. So the key takeaway is that although visual content in general, like pictures, are very influential, very shared across all platforms, videos are definitely the most shared pieces of content, the ones that most often go viral. So, talking about sharing these videos, sharing posts in general, there's a bit of psychology that goes on when people share things on social media. So the main thing that happens is the release of two hormones called dopamine and oxytocin. So dopamine is commonly referred to as the feel-good hormone. It happens when we do things that naturally make us happy, such as working out or acing an exam. And actually, various studies have found that whenever we share things on social media or whenever our posts receive likes or comments, shares, we get a natural rush of dopamine. And so when people say, oh, you're addicted to your phone, you're addicted to Facebook, they're not lying. You actually become so addicted to this rush of dopamine that it's a positive reinforcement, you enjoy doing it, and you have this strong desire to return it and do it more. And so when you think about this, for all of us animal lovers here, if you have something that naturally gives you a rush of dopamine, such as horseback riding or even simply petting a dog, if you share a video of like a horseback riding or things like that, that's a double rush of dopamine. So you get just as addicted to that, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And the other hormone is oxytocin, which is commonly referred to as the bonding hormone, and it's released when you create a bond with someone. So like when you hug someone or meet someone new, which is very important for social media because social media is all about making those connections, helping to build stronger relationships. And actually, a fun fact is that a recent study by neuroeconomist Paul Zak found that 10 minutes on social media, on average, oxytocin levels can rise up to 13%, which is equivalent to some people on their wedding day. So I don't have the stats to how successful those marriages were, but anyway, so when asked, a study by the New York Times found when they asked people why they share these posts, 68% of study participants said that they share to give people a better sense of who they are and what they care about, which is really important. They want to show people the things that they're passionate about. 69% said that they share because it allows them to feel more involved in the world. It's their way of getting connected with the things that they care about. But most importantly for animal welfare is that 84% of people share because they said it's a way to support the causes and issues that they care about. So that's what we're here to talk about today. So an example of this is a rescue facility by my house that does a really good job with posting about the dogs and cats that they find in order to get them adopted. So this particular animal rescue facility is called a Rejoiceful Animal Rescue. And the dog in this post, his name is Stone, and about a year ago, he was hit by a car and just left on the side of an expressway. So an off-duty police officer drove by, saw him just laying there, and took those photos, sent them to a Rejoiceful Animal Rescue, and said, "This dog needs help." So immediately, a Rejoiceful Animal Rescue wrote a very long story about all of the surgery Stone was going to need, all of the therapy he'll need, things like that in order to find him a foster home and eventually find him a loving family to adopt. And so this post got a total of 326 likes, 75 shares, and 83 comments, which when you think about it, let's just say one person has 500 Facebook friends on average. So for every one person that shared that post, 500 people are probably going to see it when they go on Facebook. So the fact that this got 75 shares, a lot of eyes are going to see that, and that's very common for posts that kind of tug on the heartstrings of followers, such as this one. So going back to why people share on social media, a main motivator is self-presentation. So I want to ask, how many of you remember the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge? Oh yeah, okay, and then how many of you actually participated in it? Dumping the ice over your head? Very nice, okay. So for those of you that don't know, the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge was a campaign to get people aware of what ALS was and also raise money for the ALS Foundation. And it was really successful. Basically, what you had to do is you had the choice, once you were challenged, to either donate $100 to the cause or to dump a bucket of ice over your head and challenge your friends to do it. So it went viral across the world about 2 years ago, and it's kind of, it happened because of one thing called the self-discrepancy theory. So the self-discrepancy theory said that there's three selves. You have your ideal self, which is who we want to become, your ought self, which is who we think we should be, and your actual self, which is who we actually are. And so essentially the perfect social media post is a combination of all three of these things. And essentially we share things to make ourselves look good, which is exactly what the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge achieved, is that it allowed people to feel involved, like we mentioned earlier, and people felt like they were actually raising awareness, raising money, and it created sustainable change because the ALS Foundation raised millions of dollars. People are still donating, people are still talking about it, so it was definitely a success. So for our cause, how do we create sustainable change in animal welfare is the big question we've all been trying to answer. So in order to create sustainability, a good way to do it is through a thing called participation marketing, which is instead of having an A to B message from business to consumer, or from cause to end user, it's when people become a part of the brand or cause. People who care about something so much, they want to carry it with them. They want to become engaged for the rest of their lives, and it does create sustainable change for years to come. It encourages a relationship, it forges connections, and it really creates a sense of community. So a recent example of this is the Pokemon Go app. I don't know if any of you heard of it, but it's basically an app that went viral a few months ago. People download it on their phones, it's a game, and you walk around your community. You physically have to get up and walk around in order to catch these Pokemon on your screen. And so a company teamed up, a third-party application teamed up with Pokemon Go. The company's called Wolf Tracks, and basically it allowed users, once they had both of these apps, Wolf Tracks allowed users that were walking around their communities playing Pokemon Go to team up with their local animal shelter, and while they were walking around, they're able to swing in, grab a dog, and walk the dog around the community. So, kind of a funny example, but it's true. And those people are going to do that every time they play Pokemon because they get a chance to walk a dog around. Why not? So I thought that was a good description of participation marketing and how to create sustainable change for animal welfare. So in conclusion, I know it's lunchtime, so I'll try to wrap things up quickly. When you think of your specific brand or cause and how to kind of implement it into digital media, think of Stone and think of the Rejoiceful Animal Rescue and how they did it. Because they kind of worked backwards. They thought, okay, for every post that they do, they think, what do we want our end result to be? Do we want this dog adopted? Do we want to raise money, to raise awareness? So when you're planning out your campaign, think of the end result first, and then think, okay, what's our call to action going to be? What's the wording we're going to use? What's the messages we're going to use to really connect with our audience, connect with the people we want to connect with? And in terms of millennials, if that's your goal, you're going to want to reach them through their screen. And the Rejoiceful Animal Rescue did this successfully and found Stone a forever home, which is me. So, thank you.